Greetings, folks. Sealer here. Today's replay features myself in, yes, once again, another German cruiser. No, I'm not doing this on purpose to the channel or to you, but I have been sailing German cruisers a lot as of late to rack up Elite Commander XP, and this turned out to be a very good match in the Tier 9 German heavy cruiser, the Rhone, or the Rhone, if I'm going to use an American R. I am division with Jimmy Jazz, who is in the Tier 9 German destroyer, the Z46, and we are in a Tier 9 domination match on Shatter. There is a division trio of Tier 9 destroyers on the opposing team. My build in the Rhone is actually quite changed from what I've historically run for the last year. I have recently switched back to a reload build instead of a range build for the slot 6 upgrade. I have dropped BFT as I have found that was not adding enough in terms of AA benefit. I picked up Expert Marksman to get my turrets to go a little faster, since I am using the main battery modification 3 upgrade in slot 6 now. And lastly, I've held on to the last 3 points, or at least as of this match, I was holding on to the last 3 points on this 19-point commander, as I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go with Vigilance or I wanted to go with Jack of all trades and preventative maintenance. And as it turns out, after this match, shortly after this match, I switched over to the latter choice. I went with Jack of all trades and preventative maintenance. Now, I'm doing this replay not only because it's a good match, but it exemplifies a couple of key characteristics of the German heavy cruisers, including the Rhone, and a recent comment or recent query on the Warships forum actually asked a question around how to play the Rhone, and I thought that this match exemplified her two most prominent characteristics. The first is most traditionally, is the long-range artillery cruiser. So I will be spending a fair amount of my time working targets from range, and so I'll be talking about how I handle those mechanics. And then the other aspect that the German heavy cruisers, or at least the upper tier German heavy cruisers, are known for are kind of being the brawlers of the cruisers. And there are going to be a couple of cases where I'm going to get into close engagements with 2 of the opposing battleships, and so that will exemplify that characteristic as well. Now, I've started over here on the far west side of the map, looking to get in some flanking fire on some of the opponents here. We know that the trio of destroyers, or at least we've seen 2 of them, the trio of destroyers on the opposing team are over here. We do see the Z46. We are going to find out that the other 2 are here. We just haven't seen them yet. And we're just trying to get sort of push off the Z46 out of the cap. He's obviously come in here to try to drop torps into the smoke. We have both Jimmy Jazz and our allied Fletcher. And Jimmy Jazz asked me to take care of the Atlanta, which I'm more than happy to dispose of. So AP salvo out, and a couple of citadels later, and I finish off the Atlanta. So I think many people know that the German heavy cruiser AP, or German cruiser AP in general, but the heavy cruiser AP is very strong against ships, has the highest alpha at caliber. The penetration angles are pretty finicky, but in that case, the Atlanta is a very thinly armored cruiser, and I tend to fire AP at it, regardless of the angle it presents to me. But as luck would have it, he was flat broadside, and so that was a pretty easy kill. So I'm going to bleed back here because I don't want to get into a close engagement yet with a Lion is that healthy. There's an Alsace that's over here as well. Both of them can punish me quite hard. So this is where I'm going to be working in more of the long-range artillery kiting posture for the next several minutes. As we're trying to drive off the Z46, we aren't going to quite finish them off here, but we are going to get them very low. And then the other target that I'm going to be interested in going after is the Lion, to basically try to keep him off the cap as well. Unfortunately, we did lose our Fletcher over at Alpha that was here help supporting Jim. So we're down 1 destroyer. We also lost 1 of our battleships, as I set a fire on the Lion. And so we're down. We have a 1 ship deficit, but we currently hold 2 caps. And so we're going to get a modest lead here fairly soon, but things are going to change fairly quickly. Unfortunately, our allied, I think this is a Helena, is very overexposed. He's at my sort of my 7 o'clock position, and this is a tough map for a cruiser that has relatively poor range like the Helena. They really need to, they depend on being able to use island cover to be able to fire over islands. And unfortunately, we are going to end up losing him fairly quickly because he's trying to open water gunboat, which is not advisable in Helena. Now, you saw that we got the Lion down to very little health, but he's going to use one of his magic heals here not too soon. And he's going to get a lot of his health back because I think a lot of the damage that he took was from fires. Now, I'm going to make, honestly, kind of a stupid sort of execution error here. I'm sort of, you can see I'm vacillating on which side I want to sort of turn. And because of my hesitation, I'm going to end up running into our Synop, and I'm going to end up taking some shots here. So I apologize for the really aggressive panning here because I'm like trying to figure out what I want to do, and then I realize I'm going to run into him and I'm going to have to bump off and accelerate out. So this was entirely my fault. In fact, I'm going to take some damage that was targeted for him. And fortunately, it won't be too much, but this was kind of a really crappy execution error on my part, so I apologize to the Synop player. On that note, actually, I do need to give an early shout out to the Synop player because being a bottom tier battleship, this can be a tough role to play, and he does very, very well to help keep the Alsace in particular occupied. Now, I'm gonna come back to the two sort of classic ways that the Roon is known for playing. So right now I'm working as sort of this is more of a mid-range firing. I typically try to work from about 13, 14 kilometers from my target so I can dip into concealment if I have to. But I'm doing the kiting posture where I'm angled away, and here I'm being targeted by the Lion, and I realize this a tad late, but fortunately his aim was a little bit off, and I don't take any damage. But that could have been a place where I really could have taken some serious damage. But you could see I was putting angled fire on the Alsace, which is how I normally play most of the time as a long-range artillery cruiser. But now we're going to switch over to the other type of role that the Roon and the other German heavy cruisers at tier 8 and higher are played, which are sort of the close engagement brawling cruisers. So because they tend to have very good close quarters armor schemes with the turtleback, they can mitigate Citadel hits from some of the mid-caliber battleships. The Roon and Hyperclass and the Hindenburg can all bounce the 380 millimeter shells of the Gneisenau, and the Gneisenau is doomed. So this was a match that I was going to easily win. I mean, partly because he had taken some bad hits, but this is where the German heavy cruisers can excel if they are able to get into isolated one-on-one engagements like this. They often can win these engagements. It's very important, however, when somebody does this, that they not YOLO in. They have to pick the engagement very carefully so that they know that they have the advantage. They don't put themselves into a crossfire. They're not they're not the target of multiple opponents. In that case, I was exclusively the focus of only the Gneisenau, and I had every advantage: the health, the armor. I have the torpedo systems, but so does he. But I have hydro; he does not. I can bounce his shells off my bow. I'm not likely to take a Citadel hit from him, even if I'm not very well angled at that range. So I did very well here. Now I switched back to, again, the posture of doing the kiting thing, putting fire on the Alsace. And then I was going to go over and engage the Fiji, but fortunately our Lion was paying attention and promptly deleted him. And again, this is if I had to have engaged the Fiji, that would likely have been an engagement I would win because I have the better armor scheme. The advantage he has the higher rate of fire. He obviously also has torpedoes, so I have to be careful of that as well. So coming back to the overall tactical situation, we have fallen seriously behind. We have lost the caps that we took. In fact, we just now lost our Colorado. A shout out to the opposing Zara. He is going to come in very high. In fact, I think he may be top of his team for XP in this match. So he clearly knew what he was doing in this game, and he's ended up taking down our Colorado. We have a, what is that, a 3-ship deficit or 2-ship deficit. And here is the Lion. So now I have to go back into Battleship Roon posture and engage the Lion. Now the Lion realizes I'm here, so he's rotating to get his guns on me. Now, one thing that I often see players do when they have sort of these close engagements with torpedoes is that they tend to send too early. Now, I've purposely sent one set of torpedoes in the direction I did in the event that he stayed on the course that he did, but also to force him to turn out. And so now this next set, although I could have waited a little bit longer and make sure I got a slightly better assured strike, but I do end up getting 3 of the torpedoes and finishing him off. So I could have waited a tad longer, and it might have been better in order to assure that I get the torpedoes. But very, very often, I see players in situations like that, the Tirpitz, the Scharnhorst, the Gneisenau, where they simply will send their torpedoes much, much too early, and really should wait until they can get an assured strike. Now, at this point, I was hoping to get Bravo, but I am being detected. So I know that one of the 2 destroyers is out of smoke in front of me, and I'm not going to get this cap. And based on seeing 2 sets of 2 HE spam coming out of this smoke cloud very, very quickly, I know that's the Friesland. So it's likely the Z46. In fact, you can see the smoke screen from the Z46 go up. So I fortunately have gone into concealment, but I'm not going to get this cap. I have to push forward. My Hydro's about to come off cooldown, and I'm going to be able to light up these destroyers, and this is going to need to be my next focus. The Friesland lights me with his Hydro as well, and I think probably also the Z46. You can see the Z46 is almost dead, but I need to focus the Friesland because he's going to do a lot more damage much more quickly. In fact, you're going to see just how rapidly this destroyer can erase my health. I'm going to have a couple of fires. I'm going to extinguish that, and then not too long he's going to set another fire, and then even a fire after that. It's very, very quick. I take his engine out. It looks like he doesn't have last stand, which is a necessity on destroyers. So destroyer players out there, if you think that you don't need last stand, you do, because this is exactly the situation where you have to have it. And I do finish him off, but you can see I came into this engagement with literally 3/4 of my health. I've got 2 fires on me that are going to burn out here in just a few seconds and leave me with almost nothing. So the Friesland is no joke as far as being able to cut me down. Sending some warning torpedoes on the Z46, he's going to turn around here. You can see he has almost no health. I have to wait a little bit until my my repair party comes off cooldown, so I can start getting some health back, and he won't get an early shot and finish me off. Excuse me. And my Hydro is going to be up here for another minute. He's going to stay in my Hydro range. I don't know if his intention was to try to get another set of torpedoes off of me, because it looked like he sent both, but I may be wrong. And I'm hoping at this point, since I have 4 kills, I'm going to be able to get and finish off the Z46 for my Kraken, but our allied Lion gets the kill, and that's okay. I mean, we need the kills. We have a more than almost 250 point deficit. We are now getting Bravo. I'm sailing into Alpha, and again, looking over here to my port side, you can see our Sinop has gradually eroded the Alsace away. Now, both the Alsace and the Sinop are completely out of a position from being able to support an objective. But the reality is, in my opinion, the Sinop basically kept the Alsace distracted. I'm trying to help here. My shots here are just going to fall a tad short. So he's speed boosting, so I'm not giving him quite enough lead here. But the Sinop did very well to basically keep the Alsace occupied. This is a top-tier battleship that he does end up taking out, and now we have thinned the lead to less than 200 points, and we've also taken out a number of other opponents, and so now it's just 2 opponents against the 5 of us. I'll finish capping Alpha here. But we're kind of in a scramble to get over to Charlie, because with the time remaining, with less than 4 minutes, there's still a possibility that between taking out one of our destroyers and these two cruisers, the Zara and the Buffalo, if they run, it's still possible for them to win this game. So we need to ideally contest Charlie and ideally take out at least one more opponent to basically lock things up and make sure that we really do win this match, because we did allow them to get a significant upper hand, but we've been able to focus and get ourselves turned around. Now, one other observation about the Roon and the Hindenburg as well is that they get one additional repair party charge over their peers. For cruisers, they get in this case, I get 5 charges between taking the premium repair party consumable as well as the superintendent skill. And I'm going to end up using all 5 charges. Now, this isn't too common when I'm playing the German, when I'm playing the Hindenburg or the Roon, but it does help to have the extra consumable charge, especially for like the Hydro or the planes. Be able to, especially in late game situations, having the extra charge, even if I don't end up using all the heals. Fortunately, we do finish off the Zara, again, thanks to our Synop and to our good spotting from our Fletcher. Our Fletcher did the right thing by sailing away. But again, you can see that we are still behind. We have 5 ships and the opponents have 1, but they've held this cap. The Lion can now move towards Charlie. There's no threat of torpedoes from the Buffalo. As it turns out, this Buffalo, well, it's either a Buffalo or a Baltimore. I don't remember which at this point. But it's definitely a American heavy cruiser. It turns out that cruiser doesn't have too much health left. So he's not going to be a significant risk to the Lion short of a ram, but we would end up winning anyway at that point. So the most important thing for us from an execution perspective is, now that we're going to take the lead here in a little less than a minute, the most important thing is that our destroyers not end up in some sort of surprise engagement with the American heavy cruiser and get taken out, because again, with such a thin lead, even though we have 2 caps, with the time remaining, it's still possible that the cruiser, it is a Buffalo, and he's down to about 1/3 of his health. He could end up still winning this game if he plays things very, very smartly. But there isn't a whole lot he can do. He has nobody else spotting for him. So it would just have to be luck that he would run into one or both of our destroyers. But Jimmy Jazz, being the very skilled destroyer that he is, destroyer player, I should say, smartly advises both himself and our Fletcher to stay clear of the cruiser and let the Lion and me, if we have to engage him, to go and do that. So Jimmy Jazz is going to send some torpedoes into the general channels where the Buffalo might go to. And I've also switched over, instead of using some cinematic music like I've been using for the last probably several dozen videos, I've elected to go with more of an electronic dance tune just to kind of mix things up. And yep, you can see that our destroyers are going to peel away here. I'm going to get briefly lit here. I have AP loaded because the Buffalo was broadside when we last saw him. And here he is. He is indeed broadside. So I'm kind of hoping I'm going to get my crack in here. Look, those shot looks pretty good. And, well, I get most of his health, but not all of it. And one more salvo out, but the time's going to expire. And we are going to end up winning this match. Without me, unfortunately, getting the Kraken, but it was a good win nonetheless. So 127,000 in damage. Dreadnought, First Blood, 4 kills, and did get a solo cap. So a good match, 2,500 base XP. Again, a shout out to our Synop and also our Lion. So thank you very much, Battleship players. You did a really good job holding up the team. And with that, I hope everybody enjoyed the replay and the commentary and hopefully learned some things about playing the Roon. And with that, we hope to see you out there on the virtual seas, and we wish you happy sailing.